Hello, friends and fellow YouTubers. Welcome again to my channel, Facts and Opinion. And today, again, I've brought to you a new video today I'm going to talk about cost of living expenses in Canada. Um, I've been hearing a lot about, I came across a lot of videos in the last few days where people were talking about leaving Canada and how living in Canada is no longer affordable and how people are not finding Canada as attractive as before. So I thought, let me do some digging here. Let me do some fact finding and um, I've spoken with some of my friends, colleagues that I work with, and at the same time, my own personal experiences I brought in here, and along with that, I have some facts available over the internet as well as opinions of other people as well. So I've put everything together and brought to you this video. So do let me know how you feel about it. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first things first we're going to talk about is some basic assumptions when I made this video. So the first things first I'm going to talk about is I've not claimed any deductions that you can usually claim while filing your tax return. So when we talk about cost of living, we do have to somehow measure it with your income as well. So what I've done is I've put together some data on the income, on average income in Canada, and we're going to shortly take a look at it. So, but when I did that, I've just assumed that we're not taking any kind of deductions, so we kind of get tax refund or any other benefits as well. So that's the first one. Second is I made some broad assumptions while creating the table. However, these data points were carefully collected from different websites and specialize in this kind of information. So that's there. And the assumptions were as follows. Number one is annual salary for everyone in the family is the same. So if you've got a family of three with one kid and two partners, then I went ahead and assumed that the income for both the partners are the same, regardless of what their education credentials are and experiences are. Number two, no career breaks or layoffs were considered. What it basically means is um, I did not consider that in the 12-month you ever have a break of income. Number three is I've only considered one car per family. That's what we'll talk about when we move over to the expenses. Next, no change of house. You haven't had to change your house specifically because when you immigrate to Canada or when you're living in Canada. In fact, I know a lot of Canadians born here don't own a house, so and they rent a house. So I've assumed that you do not change your house, you do not have any moving expenses as well. Now, the rent for the housing is considered for city center specifically because that's where most of your jobs are, or that's where it's easy to travel to different parts of the city as well. So I've considered city center rent, and then emergency expenses were not considered as well. So if you had to spend some additional money because of your dental expenses and so on and so forth, which you have to take out of your pocket. I've not considered that as well. Next is entertainment expenses were not considered as well. So I completely ignored the fact that if we are humans, we have to go out and watch a movie or sometimes, go out with friends or even family and have a dinner or a lunch outside. So I've completely ignored. I've even ignored the Tim Hortons, the coffee that we usually take every day. So I've ignored that as well. Next is any kind of car maintenance expenses were not considered. So usually, if I talk about myself, I give my car to servicing every 3 to 6 months, somewhere in between there, depending on how I feel about the car. So I've completely ignored that as well. That comes to about $200 to $300 every time. Again, changing your winter tires has additional cost in the winters as well. And last but not the least, you and your family did not take any vacation, did not travel anywhere, which is again very quite unusual for Canada. For someone living in Canada, you would usually take a vacation, you would usually go somewhere, travel somewhere. Um, okay, I understand that in the last couple of years when there was a COVID, there were no travel, but still, we would always manage a time to go at least from one province to the other and spend a couple of weeks there as well. So I've assumed that you've not taken any of that. So yeah, now coming back to the numbers. Now I'm bringing right the numbers to you. We'll start with income. as to how much on an average a Canadian can earn. Now, when I say this, please bear in mind that if you're working as a call center representative, or you work at a call center, your income will be significantly lower than what I'm going to show, but then your taxes are going to be lower as well, and then you're going to be given some government benefits, added benefits as well. So I've ignored all of that. I've just taken an average salary or per capita income of Canada, and I've divided into 5 cities. So I've researched in about 5 cities. I've put down the link below in the description so you can check it out yourself. Mainly I've used Numbeo, Zumper, and a couple other websites that I'm going to put the link down for you. So yeah, so let's take a look. So first things first, if you live in city, um, I've compared the 5 big cities. So let's say, for example, Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, Ottawa, and Calgary. The reason I've taken these 5 cities is there. Here's where the main jobs are. These are the cities with main jobs. These are the cities where Canada is mainly populated as well. Now, if you want to move on to Manitoba or Saskatchewan or Halifax, well, the amount is different. The salaries are going to be different, but at the same time, the finding of a job is going to be different as well, difficult as well. So yeah, so let's take a look. If you live in the Toronto area, on an average, you would earn about 45,000 a year per person. So considering it's two-person family, two-person earning family, so the total combined salary for the household is going to be somewhere about 90,000 and $100, and federal and provincial taxes. So in Canada, there's two types of taxes. One is a federal tax, and then there is a provincial tax as well. So I've combined both for the sake of this video and ease of calculations. And if we just purely, like I said before, I've not assumed any kind of deductions, any other expenses for you as well. So the combined take-home income per household in Toronto is going to be about $72,034. Now remember this number, or if you want to pause this video and take a screenshot of this video, or just note down the numbers, that'd be great. So that's the first one. The second one is going to be Vancouver. Now, Vancouver is also one of the expensive cities, and also where you can find most jobs at. It has an average salary of $45,825 per person, which comes down to a combined household income of $91,650, with a tax rate of 20.06%. Combined take-home income comes down to $73,320, roughly, give or take. Then we go down to Montreal. The income goes a little bit higher here, with $48,029 per person, because it's a bilingual city. Although French is the primary language spoken in Montreal. However, you can definitely find English speaking jobs in there as well. So because of it being, you having more opportunities in terms of bilinguistic abilities, the total salary comes down to household salary comes down to $96,058, with federal income taxes and provincial income taxes slightly on a higher level. It comes down to about 27.53%, and the combined take-home income comes down to about 70,122. See, the major difference here is the tax. So even if you're earning about 6,000 more, you're actually getting a take-home of 2,000 less. Ottawa. So Ottawa is also one of the major cities here. A lot of people prefer to live here, and basically are everything in Canada. It's the capital city, right? So the average income per person is going to be about $49,622. So take home comes down to, for a household, is $99,244, with a tax rate of 20.05, and your combined net take home income is going to be about close to 80,000. That's $79,395. Next is Calgary, 47,945, roughly about, just for the sake of it, 48,000. Combined net home salary is about $95,890, and if you take out 25% of it, the remaining 75% is what you get. So these are basic income assumptions for a family of three. Like I said before, I've ignored some of the benefits that you get from the government, because those benefits go out with the expenses as well directly. So those benefits at the end of the day take care of certain expenses, and I've ignored those benefits along with those expenses. So I kind of cut it out for the sake of the length of this video. Next, we are going to talk about the expenses. So what are the expenses comparison between these five cities? So first things first, we can start with Toronto. Um, as you can see, the monthly rent in Toronto is going to be about $2,000. In Vancouver, it's going to be about $2,300. In Montreal, it's going to be about roughly about $1,450. In Ottawa, it's going to be roughly about $2,000, I would say, and in Calgary, it's about $1,400. So far, if you compare the monthly rent for a one-bedroom apartment in a city center or in a decent area, safe area, you can consider it to be Calgary to be the winner in terms of paying the expenses. I live in Calgary myself. I lived 4 years in Toronto, so I can vouch for it. That definitely there is a significant rent difference between the two cities. And then we can talk about the monthly grocery bill. Now, I've considered it similar because more or less it's going to be the same. I know that Alberta has less GST, but then at the end of the day, the stuff is a little bit expensive, and you end up sometimes getting stuff shipped over from Ontario or Toronto. So at the end of the day, it comes down to similar amounts. So for a family of three, I would say about $600 is give or take the right amount, and this includes all kinds of expenses that you can think of. Occasional ordering and your daily food, the meat prices, the fruits, the vegetables, and everything in together, including the time you spend in, grocery shopping. So there's a cost added to that as well, along with your traveling costs. So I've included all of that in there. Your monthly traveling expenses without a car. So if you use a travel bus pass, then in Toronto you spend about $156 in total. In Vancouver, it's roughly about 100 to 185, depending on what your age is and what your level is. So that's for Vancouver. For Montreal, it's going to be about $94. For Ottawa, it's $125.50. And for Calgary, it's going to be about $112. And if you have your own car, then you can ignore the travel expense, or you might have to add up a little bit here and there, because if you sometimes I've seen this specifically if you work in a downtown and you don't live in downtown, and if you've got to travel of 45 minutes, you want to avoid parking cost and the travel cost and the travel time. What I've seen people do is, and this is regardless of your income level, I've seen a lot of people, what they do is they park their car or at a bus station near their house, or they just take a Uber from there, and from once they're at the bus station, they take a bus. So there could be a combined cost as well, but assuming that you don't have to do that and you have everything occasionally set up, $200 is approximately what you would spend per month for on a gas. Now again, I've assumed that $50 per week, it's a reasonable assumption. I don't think there's anything wrong in it. There's $200 car insurance. Now again, this could go anywhere between, if you've had a small minor default accident, this can go up to $500. And if you've got a fairly old car, no facilities, and if you don't have a third party liability, it can even come down to $100. $200 is more than fair. I think it can go even up to $300 on an average, to be honest. Then the car installments. If you've had an average car like a Toyota Corolla, you can spend anywhere between $250 to $300 bi-weekly. So I've considered 250 times 2 as $500 for car installments. Now remember, one of the assumptions was you only own one car. Now, if you and your wife or your partner has both have the cars, then it's going to be twice the amount. So instead of spending, let's say, car insurance is going to be there, car installments are going to be there, but the gas expenses are going to be probably half of it, maybe $300 overall. So yeah, it's for now we've just taken one car as an assumption. So that's going to be about 900 a month, and I've considered the same for Vancouver, Montreal, Ottawa, and Calgary, pretty much the same. There's unlimited Wi-Fi or internet. So if you're working from home, even in those cases, or even if you're not, these days you pretty much need a Wi-Fi high-speed internet even to during your weekends. So for that, you are going to spend about $80 per month, regardless of the province you're in. So that is there. And about the phone bills. So again, the same thing. You're going to be spending about approximately about $160 under a contract. So um, now you might say two phones, $80 each is easy. Unlimited internet is something unavoidable, or even if not unlimited, if you take 5 gigabit internet or 20 gigabit internet with 5G or 4G technology, it's going to come down to somewhere about $80 a month if you're lucky. So so that's going to be 160 per family, assuming that your kid is still small and you don't have to spend any cell phone expenses on the kid. So the monthly total for Toronto, it comes down to roughly about $2,996 without a car, and $3,740 with a car. And for the Vancouver, it comes down to roughly about 3,325, $4,040. Montreal 2384 without a car, and 3190. I'm not going to read out all the numbers for you as you can see it on the screen, but that gives you a rough idea as to what your monthly expenses are. And we're going to go back to average property prices in the city. So if one of the primary intentions of anyone who is renting a house usually is specifically if you're a middle class, is that you want to make sure that you don't spend a lot of money on renting, and you want to own your own house so you can build your assets. So I'm going to give you a rough idea as to what the prices are. So in Toronto, an average property price for a one bedroom condo is about $400,000. And I'm being conservative here. I haven't been in Toronto for the last couple of years, but I've just sourced this information from the website. So, and remember, there are safe locations, safe areas, so you can always find an exception where you can find an apartment for 250,000. But then there is some issue with the apartment or the other. Either the area is not good, or you have to travel a lot from that area, or the transit is not good, or it's not safe, or there has been some crime in the area, and those things could lead the lower prices of the property. Assuming that you want to live in a safe background or safe area, I have taken prices off a decent area as well. So it's 400,000 for Toronto, similar price for Vancouver. Montreal, it's going to be 350,000, Ottawa 350, and Calgary 250,000. Now remember, when I talk about Toronto and Vancouver at 400,000, these are really tiny apartments. They're really small. You barely have any space to do any extracurricular activity, or even, let alone do anything at all. So it's pretty expensive in Toronto and Vancouver, and saying that it's pretty expensive is an understatement, trust me. So next we're going to talk about is so we looked at the income, we looked at the expenses, we looked at the property prices. So now we are going to sum it up and we are going to see what it comes down to. So the sum of the cost of living on an average ranges between $37,000 to $50,000 per year. So that's your cost of living. So if you're a single person and if you earn about 50,000 a year, I would say, yeah, I would say you're going to be there's not going to be much room to save any money for you. Secondly, about 30% of your income can be set aside as taxes, including your CPP payments and your employment insurance, which is about 4%. CPP is about 5%. That is deducted directly from your paycheck. So, like I said, on an average, you would see about 20% to that's a minimum tax rate is what I've come across, and it can go up to 27, 28%. From there, if you add a 10%, another 10% for CPP and EI expenses, that's going to be coming down to about um, anywhere between 30 to 40% of your income as your income taxes. So I know it's huge, but then you get free education for it, and you get free medical health care as well. So-called free. I mean, it's not really free, but we pay from our taxes. So that's there. And then what we understand from this exercise is that one entire salary from the two earning partners goes in the cost of living alone. Because if you're earning 50,000, you got to remember that you're not going to get 50,000 in hand. You're going to get somewhere about um, so we consider 30%. So you're going to get somewhere about 35,000 to 40,000 in your hand, and from 40,000, you're going to have to So that 40,000 entirely goes away because, as you can see, 37 to 50,000 is your per year expenses. So that goes away. Plus, in addition to that, about 25 to 30% of your partner's income also goes in your living expenses as a family. And this is considering that you're living completely simple life and uneventful life. There's no tragedies happening, no emergencies. You're not traveling anywhere, and you're living completely very simple life. You cook at home, you buy the groceries, you watch movies on Netflix, you don't go into movie theaters or any of that sort, or you don't take your kids to parks or to expensive events, or you don't spend any extra money on your kids as well. So assuming all of that, this is what it comes down to. Now, what is my opinion? So the truth is that career breaks do happen more often than we would like in Canada. There are a lot more layoffs, as you can see. I don't know if you've been following Twitter, but there have been a lot of layoffs recently, and all the tech companies have been laying off their employees as well. This could be because of, and even if it's not because of the layoff or a company, sometimes you just have to take off because of your family circumstances, or even if you go on a maternity leave, there are pay expenses. There is a certain provisions for pay as well. So that's there. Then you have just, or there's just lack of work. They would just let you go for some time and then ask you to join in after some time. It does happen more often than you would think. And although employment insurance is provided, this amount is barely ever sufficient to cover your real expenses. So it's only like it gives you some kind of assistance, but it doesn't cover any of your expenses, majority of your expenses. Also, sometimes new jobs might take up additional license cost, longer breaks. New jobs might be with a lesser salary as well. So when you move from, and if you lose a job and you move from one to another, sometimes you may have to compromise in terms of the service or in terms of the salary you're getting at the new place. Sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes you just don't get the job or the experiences that you have. Despite the fact that you're a Canadian, you have Canadian experience, still you might not find that job. Secondly, it is almost impossible to live a life without a work-life balance sacrifice. You basically don't have any extracurricular activities like gym, traveling expenses, shopping, any kind of emergency shopping or otherwise as well. This is quite rare. So again, we've assumed that's always going to happen. Um, uh, in my opinion, that these expenses always, crop up. You're always going to have one or the other expenses. I've not taken your monthly Netflix subscription, your Amazon Prime, your shopping on Amazon.com. So those stuff have been ignored here as well. Your eating out habit of eating out. My actual experience is that you can save about $500 and to $3,000. Now, trust me, I'm talking extremely, I would say extremely, I'm taking things very positively and say that you're going to be able to save $500 to $3,000 with that kind of income, which is, again, it's very difficult. Based on my experience, you might have a monthly subscription or monthly investment plans with RSPs that could help a little bit, or TFSAs that could help a little bit. Bi-weekly, you might spend like $100 bi-weekly, so that would save about $200 for you and $200 or $300 for your partner, and you can put some money in RESP as well. So that's how I'm thinking, but I'm being extremely generous here. Um, so if you consider how long is it going to take with that, assuming $3,000 and an average price of a property being $200,000 at least, and 5% is the minimum down payment you got to make, you can easily consider that. So let's say 200,000, 5% is going to be about 10,000, and with $3,000 per month savings, you're going to take at least 3.5 years to save that kind of money. And when you save that kind of money with 3.5 years, you have to consider that by the time you reach that goal, the prices have already increased by 10 to 15 to 20%. Sometimes I've seen it increase. So for instance, in Calgary, just in about a year, the rent prices have gone up by 56%. That is the latest report, and also the realty prices have gone up as well. So these